There comes a point when exhaustion isn't about being lazy. It's not even about giving up. It's about the toll that prolonged effort takes on your spirit. You've been giving everything, your time, your energy, your heart, showing up day after day, doing all the right things. You've tried to plan better, think smarter, work harder, and yet nothing seems to budge. At some point, a quiet voice inside you starts, whispering, maybe, I wasn't meant to struggle this much. That moment, that subtle inner question, is when the journey toward trust begins. You see, the world has trained us to believe that effort is the only answer. If life isn't working, we're told to double down, wake up earlier, do more, fix ourselves. But no one talks about the other half of the truth. Sometimes it's not about doing more. Sometimes it's about surrendering more, trusting more. When you finally allow yourself to step back, something surprising happens. The things you've been chasing begin to turn around and find you. The solutions you've been forcing begin to unfold naturally. Life stops feeling so heavy. You're not dragging yourself through each day anymore. You're moving with a sense of peace and purpose. That's the paradox. The harder you push, the further things slip away. But when you let go of your grip, you create room for what's truly meant for you. Because life doesn't always respond to force. It responds to alignment. And trust, that quiet confidence, is what brings you into alignment. Trust isn't passive. It's not sitting around hoping something good will happen. It's deeper than hope. It's knowing, even without evidence, that you are being guided. It's recognizing that you don't have to micromanage every moment to feel safe. Trust is exhaling after years of holding your breath. It's unclenching your jaw and realizing you don't have to carry the weight of the world alone. The truth is, some of us are tired not because we've done too little, but because we've been trying to control too much. We overdo. We overthink. We over-explain ourselves, even when no one is asking. We show up for everything, even when we're running on empty, because we fear what will happen if we stop. But what if nothing falls apart when you pause? What if, instead, things finally come together? Sometimes, when you stop trying so hard, when you stop acting from fear, everything clicks. You're no longer operating from desperation, from a need to prove something to the world. You begin to move from calm, from clarity, from alignment. Trust doesn't beg. Trust doesn't chase. Trust doesn't force. It simply allows. It gives space. It holds silence without the urge to fill it. It doesn't panic when things stall, because it understands that real love, real peace, real transformation, these things don't bloom under pressure. They thrive in stillness. And here's something most people never realize. The more you try to control, the more you confirm you're not in control. That's why it feels so hard. That's why your progress feels temporary. Because the energy you're working with is rooted in fear. And fear always leads to clinging, to holding on to things that were never meant for you. But trust, real trust, moves differently. It doesn't rush. It listens. It flows. It loosens its grip on rigid timelines and endless expectations. It replaces that mental spin cycle with a quiet confidence that says, if it's meant for me, it will come. I don't have to chase it. That's not denial. That's wisdom. Because after enough failed attempts, enough broken doors, enough people who didn't see your worth, you learn. You learn that trust isn't weakness. It's strength. It's the kind of strength that doesn't need to shout or prove anything. It just knows. And from that knowing comes peace. Not the temporary kind that disappears when circumstances change, but the real kind. The kind that opens unexpected doors. The kind that calls the right people into your life. Not because you hunted them down, but because your energy, your presence, your stillness pulled them in. The truth is, many of us were raised to believe trust is dangerous. We were taught that love must be earned, that success comes through pain, that rest is for the weak. If you grew up believing that suffering was a sign of worth, then trusting will feel unnatural, and letting go will feel like giving up. But let me tell you this clearly. You weren't created to suffer your way into peace. You weren't meant to spend your life with your shoulders tense and your chest tight, calling it discipline. There's a way to build, to grow, to heal, without constantly abandoning yourself. And that way is rooted in trust. Trust gives you your life back, your clarity, your calm. It gives you permission to just be without overperforming, overanalyzing, overexplaining. Instead of trying to predict every outcome, you can finally rest in the present. Instead of mentally rehearsing your next move, you start to feel grounded in the now. And from that grounded place, you make better choices. You attract better people, not because you're desperate for connection, but because your energy says, I'm whole already. You stop rushing, not because you're hopeless, but because you've learned the difference between force and flow. Trust doesn't mean sitting still forever. It doesn't mean being passive. It means not panicking when nothing is happening yet. It means not jumping in to fix things prematurely. It means allowing the silence to speak and the stillness to teach. Trust teaches you to stop interrupting the process, to stop leaking energy into anxiety and start investing it into peace. Because when you operate from peace, your path begins to clear. The doors you never imagined open. Not because you manipulated the outcome, but because you allowed life to work for you, not against you. And maybe that's what trust really is, a willingness to allow, to breathe, to believe that something greater is at play, that you are not alone, that you don't have to be everything, do everything, control everything. You're not here to force life. You're here to live it. The lie we've been sold. From the moment we're old enough to make decisions, we're taught that control equals safety. That if we just try hard enough, plan well enough, prepare long enough, we can avoid pain, avoid failure, avoid disappointment. So we tighten our grip. We plan. We overthink. We micromanage our lives, our relationships, and even our emotions. But here's the truth. Control is an illusion. You can't control other people. You can't control outcomes. You can't even control your next breath without grace. What you're calling control is often just anxiety in disguise. Control comes from fear. Let's be honest. Control doesn't come from confidence. It comes from fear. Fear that things won't turn out the way we hoped. Fear that if we don't hold it all together, everything will fall apart. Fear that surrender is weakness. But here's the irony. The tighter you hold on, the more life resists you. Have you noticed? The more you try to control people, the more they pull away. The more you try to force a relationship, the faster it breaks. The more you obsess over your future, the more anxious you feel in the present. Control doesn't make you powerful. It makes you tired. Surrender is not defeat. Now here's the paradox. Surrender isn't giving up, it's waking up. When you surrender, you stop trying to be God in your own life. You stop carrying burdens you were never built to carry. You stop swimming against the current of life and start floating with divine flow. Surrender means trusting the process even when it's unclear. It means believing that what's meant for you will find you, even if you stop chasing, because it will. That job, that peace, that person, that breakthrough, they will come, not because you forced them, but because you became aligned with them. Let me tell you something simple but hard. Peace doesn't live in your plans. It lives in your presence. You can't plan your way into peace. You can only surrender your way into it. Peace begins the moment you stop saying, "I've got this," and start saying, "God, I trust you." When you let go of control, something miraculous happens. You start to feel lighter. You stop forcing conversations, chasing outcomes, proving your worth. You move from desperation to discernment. Peace doesn't come from having everything under control. It comes from knowing you're not alone in the chaos. What the Bible teaches us. In Proverbs 3 verses 5 to 6, it says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your paths straight." Letting go doesn't mean you sit back and do nothing. It means you show up, do your best, and release the rest. It means you pray and then pause. It means you stop playing God and start partnering.